Criminal defense attorney Jeff Brown joins me. Jeff, let's start first with the idea of putting bonds on any of these defendants' heads, because the very purpose, the viewers ought to know this, the very purpose of the bond is to make sure someone comes back to court. So if you voluntarily show up and surrender and to at a bookings, you know, the idea that you need to put a $100,000 bond on anybody, even a 50-cent one. I mean, in many parts of the country, you don't even get any bond. But just the, maybe you disagree with me on this. I don't know.
No, when I heard this, I was shocked, and I'm kind of laughing now. But I'm really upset about this factor because, as people should know, it's generally you're given a bond because you're a flight risk. There's also a component about being a danger to the community, but of course that doesn't play here. So the issue is whether you will appear in court, and they want you to have some skin in the game in case they're afraid that you don't have ties to the community. When I go through this with my clients in federal court, we're always talking about whether the person has a passport, ties to the community, whether they have a job, things of that nature. You have probably the most well-known person on this planet in former President Trump. So the idea that he isn't going to appear for court and is a flight risk, along with, I guess he's going to take his whole, a bunch of Secret Service agents that are protecting him with him, is just, it's a mockery. And it really does get me upset, though, because this is how we lose faith in our justice system. When people see and hear things like this, it ruins the system that you and I both have spent 30 years in and love. I'm just shocked that a judge that is allowing this to occur, why a judge isn't on his own saying, no, I'm not going to allow you to put a bond amount on these. We're going to just do it as ROR. It's absurd to me.
Well, I mean, the idea. I mean, look, there were so many times when I was representing people that might have like 6 past armed robberies, but they showed up for court every time they pulled off an armed robbery. In every single status hearing, every single arraignment, every single trial, they showed up. So when they got the 7th armed robbery, they would get released because they had a record of showing up, because they're showing up. So the mere fact that all these defendants are showing up in court, they didn't hit the. If they were going to leave town, they would have done that by now. They now have a proven record, like my armed robbers, of showing up. And the idea, I think, is just mean-spirited that they put these bonds on their heads.
You know, the question really, as to a flight risk, I mean, unless you think this person is absolutely going to flee from justice and go to Cuba, then the only other issue that the judges really look at, and the most of the bonds are for somebody that is a danger to the community. And we're saying, well, we're not so sure about this. They've had several of these aggravated assaults or batteries or attempted murders. We'll put a bond on it. But as you said, I don't understand this, and why there isn't somebody in Fulton County that stepped up and said, this is ridiculous. This is the most well-known individual on the planet. This is Mayor Giuliani, who was there for 9/11 and ran the U.S. Attorney's Office. This is just absurd that anybody has to put a bond amount here.
Well, how about, I mean, but where are they going to get the money, too? I mean, some of them don't have this kind of cash. I mean, if you had to put up a $100,000 bond, unless you pay a 10% maybe to a bondsman or something, but even then you lose $10,000. But if you have to pay, you don't have that for legal fees, and the prosecutors know that. I mean, there are ways to bleed a defendant who's got a, by having enormous legal bills.
And that's exactly what I think they're doing here. I can't think of any other reason for it. It really has nothing to do with them being a flight risk. So this is gamesmanship, right? This is trying to bleed them. It's trying to prevent them from having funds for an attorney. It's just a little poke here and a little poke there, but that's exactly what this is. And that's why this makes me so upset. It's because I have so much faith in this justice system, but when people are abusing it and misusing it like this, it's just going to ruin the credibility of this system across the world, for that matter. I think other people are laughing at it.
Well, let's see if there's any courage in any of these judges who are involved in some of these cases, because the judges know, we all know, everyone in the system knows the way it works. Anyway, Jeff Brown, thank you.
Thanks, Greta.